Hey, what is up YouTube? This is Hypergon, back again for another video. Now, this time I'm going to be doing a deck profile for a deck I'm sure many of you have already seen before, but this isn't going to be the same build of it. What deck? Yosenju's. Now, this isn't your ordinary Yosenju build, as I said. It's got some other stuff in it too. Namely, ninjas. That's right, I have a crossbreed between Yosenjus and ninjas that I'm going to be showing off for you guys today. So you can call them Ninsenjus, or Yosenjas. It's a Yosenju ninja hybrid. What do you want? Let's get on with the profile. Alright, so starting this off, since this is primarily a Yosenju build, we're going to go with the Yosenjus first. I have 2 copies of Yosenju, 1. It's definitely a good card amongst the commas, which are the 3 main monsters of the deck, level 4 Beast Warriors. For those of you who don't know how the Yosenjus work, they all have all of the level 4 Beast Warriors have the effect of when they are normal summoned, you can immediately activate their effect, which says that you can normal summon an additional Yosenju monster this turn. And you can keep doing it over and over again. The only catch is that you can't summon the same thing you originally normal summoned. So I can't drop a 1 and then activate its effect and bring out a second 1. What I'd have to do is bring out 1, bring out a different of the Beast Warriors, and then use its effect to get the other 1 if I wanted to get them both out. Now, they also all return to your hand during the end phase of your turn when normal summoned, so that's something you got to keep in mind. Keeping a field is not easy with this deck at all. But what makes 1 so good specifically is his effect says that if you control another Yosenju other than this card, you can bounce 1 face-up card your opponent controls back to the hand, which is extremely useful for getting rid of problem cards, like if you need to get past, say, like an Armades or, I don't know, just some Xyz monster that's causing you problems. Just anything that you can't normally punch over or don't want to risk punching into a Deep Prison or Mirror Force or something for, this guy is a great card for that. I also have a copy of Yosenju, 2. Yeah, I know, great naming dynamics on Konami's end. But aside from the normal Yosenju stuff, this guy is able to attack directly for half damage, which does not seem that great since it's only 900 damage tops, or minimum, I'm sorry. But this guy is mainly useful for getting off the effect of my 2 copies of Yosenju, 3. This card, I wish I could run 3 of in this particular build, but there's not enough room for it in the deck, unfortunately. I'll get to why that is later on, but what she does, or I don't know if it's she or not, it looks like a she, so I'm going to go with the she. What this card does is that whenever another Yosenju card other than this one deals damage to your opponent, like direct attack or something, this card will search out any Yosenju card in your deck. It's just a very versatile searcher, very helpful for getting out pretty much anything you need. Next up, I run the last of the Beast Warriors, 2 copies of Yosenju Deck. Again, same standard effects of can do the... Well, no, he doesn't do the additional normal summon, I apologize. But during the end phase, he does still bounce back to the hand. However, he has 2 effects to make up for that. First one says that during either player's damage step, when a Yosenju monster you control battles an opponent's monster, discard this guy and add 1,000 attacks to your Yosenju monster. So that's incredibly helpful. It's kind of like a weaker Kalute, which is a weaker Honest, but amongst the cards that just add extra damage on battle step, it can make the difference. Especially since this deck does run things like tanky, since they're all Beast Warriors, so you can search them out so they do get that little extra buff. That 1,000 can make a difference. With their best one, 2, that can make a difference of an 18 puncher to a 28 puncher, which can get over a lot more. And then his other thing says that you can target a Yosenju monster on the field and it gains 1,000 attack until the end of the turn. So one you discard for, the other one he just kind of gets it. I personally prefer the discard one just because it's not as easy to counter, but, both have their uses. That's it for the Beast Warriors. Now I actually move on to part of what makes Yosenju so fun, the pendulum element. For that we have 2 copies of Yosenju Shinchu L. Again, very original naming dynamics. I truly applaud you on that, Konami. But aside from being a pendulum monster, when the card is normal summoned, it's changed to defense mode, and then your opponent cannot target Yosenju monsters you control with card effects, except for this guy. But his main effect is actually his pendulum effect, which says that if a Yosenju monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can destroy this card instead. So it's pretty helpful. Since he's a pendulum monster, when he is destroyed, he just goes right back to the pendulum zone. I mean, to the extra deck, I'm sorry. And then you can just pendulum summon him out later using the other L for the scale and just get him back, use him for an Xyz or a tribute or whatever. It doesn't make a difference. And then I also, since I did say there is some pendulum to it, run 1 copy of Yosenju Shinchu R. This guy right here is nowhere near as good as L, which is why I only want 1 of it. Its real use is primarily in a Yosenju only build, which I do have 1 of, but again, I'll get to that a little bit later. It's basically you can, if you have another Yosenju monster in your other pendulum zone, you can make this card's pendulum scale 11 until the end of the turn, but you can only special summon Yosenju monsters. That's basically just you can pendulum summon my Yosenju Daibok, who's kind of the deck's boss monster. But again, I just use him for a 5 since, with the exception of 2 monsters in this entire deck, everything is level 4. So I can pendulum summon pretty much every monster in this deck with the scale 3 and 5. But that's actually it for the Yosenju aspect of the deck. Not too much to it. Now for the other half, the ninjas. Of course, what would a good ninja deck be without your 3 copies of Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo? Ninja's been around for a while, but I'll still explain it anyway just in case. When he's normal summoned, you add a ninjutsu art card from your deck to your hand, and then if he's flip or special summoned, you add a ninja except him. It's just kind of helpful to be able to grab that. The particular ninjutsu art card I get with this is Transformation, and I'll go into why a little bit later. But I mean, he's just a good 18 puncher. He has other uses too, but again, I'll get to that in just a little bit. Here's a card probably no one saw coming, and really why this hybrid works, and that's 2 copies of Ninja Lady Yay. Almost no one uses her, and ironically, she's one of the 2 monsters I mentioned that I can't pendulum summon because she's level 3. But again, not very commonly used, but here's why I use it. Her effect states that you can discard 1 wind monster from your hand to the graveyard, and then return all spell trap cards your opponent controls back to their hand. So, just a giant Trunade for your opponent only. And with that whole wind thing, yeah, not sure if you guys noticed, these are all wind monsters. I can discard any Yosenju and get the effect. Or Ninja Lady A, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of the fun thing about her, just it's an unexpected tech choice, but it works hilariously well. Just getting rid of back row so I can swing for game, because these guys can just plop onto the field like you would not believe. Next up, I run 1 copy of Upstart Golden Ninja. Once per turn, you can send 1 trap card from your hand to the graveyard, special summon a level 4 or lower ninja monster from your deck in face-up defense or face-down defense position. This is really just good for, typical move for this is going to be drop any trap, get a Hanzo, and then Xyz into something. Hanzo's effect will activate when special summoned. You can grab a lady, or, well, yeah, just a lady, really. Then you can have your giant Trunade set up for next turn. So, pretty good. Just a nice little Xyz engine thrown in there. Not any really reason not to, especially since this build is so Xyz heavy. And as for the reason I was mentioning why Hanzo is also especially good, aside from just the ninja thing, is, well, the ninja thing. Dark Samorg. 1 copy. For those of you who don't know how this guy works, he is the biggest middle finger to back row you will ever see in your life. While this face-up card is on the field, it is also considered a wind attribute. Not really important, but, you know. You can also you can banish one dark monster and one wind monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. That's why I like having Hanzo when there's a dark monster. Also, you can banish one dark and one wind monster from your hand and special summon this card from your graveyard. So it's really hard to get rid of him. 27 is pretty good, and here's why he's a great middle finger to back row. Your opponent cannot set any cards on the field. While he is out there, your opponent is not allowed to set. That's spells, that's traps, and that's monsters. So that pretty much limits your opponent to summoning in attack mode, special summoning, and spells. That's it, as long as he's out. That's why Dark Samorg is so great, and because of his versatility and the ability to just come back at will, it's hilariously good. Finally, this isn't relevant to the ninjas, this is it for the ninjas, but my last set of monsters is 2 copies of Battle Fader. The reason I choose Battle Fader over Swift Scarecrow is because he is also a dark monster, so again, that kind of helps out for Dark Samorg over there. But the main reason that I even run this guy in the first place is actually just because Yosenju's big glaring weakness of always bouncing back to the hand at the end phase of the turn. Well, that kind of leaves me wide open for attacks, so with Battle Fader, I can kind of slow that down so that I don't get OTK'd quite so easily. And again, because he's a dark monster, I can always use him to banish from my hand or to bring back Dark Samorg if I need to. That actually does it for the monster lineup. Not too much there to talk about, other than basically the Yosenjus and the ninjas. Now we move on to the spell lineup. Of course, as anyone who has played Yosenjus knows, this deck is all about searching. So let's just go ahead and get all my search cards out of the way, shall we? 3 copies of Yosen Training Ground. I'm aware this card has a buff effect, but let's not kid ourselves. Who honestly uses it? So the way this works is whenever a Yosenju monster is normal or special summoned, you place 1 Yosen counter on this card. You can remove Yosen counters from this card specifically and apply one of the following effects. 1 counter, all Yosenjus you currently control gain 300 attack until the end phase of the turn. Who cares? The important one is 3 counters. Add 1 Yosenju card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And since it's a continuous spell, you can just kind of keep that going. Yosenjus summon themselves like madmen, so you'll always get the 3 counters that you need. And just kind of help keep it going. Like I said, this deck searches like you would not believe. Speaking of searching like you would not believe, I believe I mentioned that the first 4 different monsters I mentioned were all Beast Warriors. So, gotta throw in them Tenkies. All 3 of them. Yeah, I don't even think I need to explain why Tenki is great. Just grab a Beast Warrior and buffs them by 100. What's not to love, honestly? Now, since this is a ninja variant, I have 1 extra search card that most Yosenju decks won't. That is 3 copies of Rhoda. Mostly just to search out the 6 ninja cards that I have, the 3 Hanzo, 2 Ninja Lady A, and the 1 Upstar Gold. Just grab any of them if I need them. They can be pretty good. That's really all I got on that. And then 1 Dark Hole. As I've said in all my profiles, I don't run Raigeki because that card is a hella expensive and I'm a hella broke. But in this particular case, I don't really care it's a Dark Hole because Yosenju's always bounce back to the hand at the end of the turn, so, you know, I probably won't have any monsters on the field when I activate this, so honestly, who cares? And then 1 Book of Moon because who doesn't love Book of Moon? That's all I got in terms of spells. Now finally for the traps. Not gonna lie, this is a bit of a trap-heavy deck for Yosenjus, but again, that's mostly because I have ninjas in there and Upstart Gold needs its discards. So the first one is Yosenju's Secret Move. All 3 necessary copies of it. If you guys don't know what this is, let me refer you back to some other cards that you may have heard of that do a similar thing. Infernity Barrier and Solemn Judgment are 2 great examples of what this card basically does. When a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while your opponent controls it, while you control at least 1 Yosenju card, and all face-up monsters you control are Yosenju monsters, you negate the activation and destroy the card. Now, the good thing about this is that the thing about you controlling face-up Yosenju monsters doesn't actually mean you have to control monsters. Just, if you do control face-up monsters, they need to be Yosenjus. So, pretty easy to do, but the fun thing about this is you just have to control a Yosenju card. Well, coincidentally, pendulums count. So you're typically going to be able to do this with Yosen Shinshu L. Just have that out, and then, you know, you get your 3 negations whenever you want. I also have 2 copies of Ninjutsu Art of Transformation, as promised. This card is amazing just because Summon Hanzo uses effect to grab this. This card lets you take one ninja monster you control, and then special summon from your deck a beast, winged beast, or insect monster from your deck who is equal to the level of the ninja you selected, plus 3. Well, again, you're mostly going to be doing this with Hanzo, and Dark Samorg happens to be a level 7, which means you are always going to be able to get it with Ninjutsu Art of Transformation. It's an amazing first turn. Just summon Hanzo, get this, set, opponent turn, draw phase, activate. Now they have to deal with 27 beater, and they're limited to summoning in attack mode and spell cards. If they have a Dark Hole, great for them, but 9 times out of 10 that's usually not going to be the case. Now, there is one catch with this card. If the monster is destroyed, unfortunately, this card stays. However, if this card goes away, the monster is gone. It's kind of a double-edged sword there in that you really don't win regardless. But the more common attribute with this is with pure ninja builds, they'll also typically run anti-spell fragrance because they don't run as many spell cards, and that completely shuts out the back row. But as you saw, I have a few too many spell cards for that to be a viable move. Plus, it kind of removes the pendulum aspect of the deck, and I didn't want to do that, so I'm just going with the most basic form of it. It still does a good job of slowing down the opponent. Next up, I have my typical 1 of traps, 1 compulse because compulse, 1 bottomless because bottomless, and 1 torrential because torrential. I don't think those cards need explaining. They're pretty common in almost every deck that runs back row. And finally, 2 Mirror Force for the same reason I run Battle Fader, and that I don't like being direct attacked. And that does it for the main deck. Last but not least, we have the extra deck. As I said, this deck does have Xyz options and some damn good ones. First off, my personal favorite of them, 2 Lightning Chidoris. This card was originally not even seeing that much play just because it requires 2 level 4 wind monsters, so realistically the only deck that could get this out with any sense of consistency, and I use that term very loosely, is Harpies. But now with Yosenju's out, this card is laughably easy to get out. First turn Chidori is stupid simple. What this guy does is that when he's Xyz summoned, you target a set card your opponent controls and return that target to the bottom of the deck. Then, once per turn, you can also detach a material from this card, target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, and return it to the top of the deck. So you can get rid of some back row on the summon, and then if they have a pesky monster, just put it back on the deck. It's kind of like how Combo 1 works with bouncing a face-up card your opponent controls, but the difference with this guy is it basically sets your opponent back a turn because you now know their next draw is going to be that monster that you hit with Lightning Chidori. The 1900 is not all that impressive, but let's face it, it's basically just used for the effect. Now, since there are also Beast Warriors, I also run 2 copies of Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Tiger King. He requires 2 level 4 Beast Warriors. Again, nothing difficult for this deck. When he's Xyz summoned, you can set 1 Fire Formation spell or trap card directly from your deck. So just drop him, get tanky, suddenly you can search out any of your Yosenju's this turn. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card to negate the effects of all face-up effect monsters currently on the field, except for Beast Warrior type monsters. So the rest of his effect doesn't matter. It's specifically to Fire Fist, and I can't use any of it. But he's a nice little rank 4 in terms of attack, 2200. I can negate the effects of any monsters my opponent has that are giving me problems, and it gets me a tanky. So it's a good little card all in all. Now, since I'm running ninjas, I can do some warrior-based Xyz. Of course, that means 1 Blade Armor Ninja. Requires 2 level 4 warriors. And once per turn, I can attach an Xyz material from this card, target a ninja I control, and it can attack twice during the battle phase. So, just quick little 44 if I need it, or if I have a bigger monster that's causing me more problems, I can just Heroic Champion Excalibur. Also 2 level 4 warrior monsters, and once per turn, you can attach 2 Xyz material from this card, and his attack becomes double its original attack until my opponent's next end phase. So it'll last. He'll become 4,000 clean to my opponent's next turn. Great for getting over problem monsters. Just really a good card. And thanks to the Pendulum engine as well as Upstart Gold, it's really easy to get both of these guys out, honestly. Next up is, well, really the rest of these are just kind of generic things. One Maestroke, one Photon Palpable Operative, one Diamond Dyer, one Abyss Dweller, one Devolval Chain, one Castel. I don't know where that came from. One Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, and a number 82 Heartland Draco. Now, I know I just kind of listed a lot, but most of them are kind of been out for a while or self-explanatory. Heartland Draco, I feel like I need to go into a little bit of detail on. He's, like the past 10 I basically went over generic, but the main thing with him is while you control a face-up spell card or cards, this card cannot be targeted for attacks. Now, bear in mind that it's just any face-up spell card, so that means any of my Pendulums, Yosen Training Ground, and Tenki. That's any combination of 9 cards face up on the field to make it so he cannot be targeted for attack. So that's basically a fourth of my deck, making this guy invincible. Then, once per turn, I can detach one Xyz material from this card, and it can attack directly. But other monsters I control can't attack. But it doesn't matter. That's basically saying I can take out a free half your life points, and he's immune to attack. So, can't really complain about that. One thing one of my friends was advising was that I should throw in a Harpy's Pet Phantasmal Dragon, because it requires 3 level 4 wins, and it can attack your opponent directly for 3 turns, and it's also 2,000. So I'm debating that one. It's only a 14 card extra deck, so I probably will do it. I just need to grab one first. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, just a reminder that if this channel does get to 500 likes, I'll be starting a new segment. And if I get to 400 subscribers, then I'll be sure to give you guys a little hint as to what that's going to be. Also, this Thursday, I'm going to be starting off a new thing on this channel, not the same thing I was just talking about. So look forward to that in a couple of days. Until next time, peace.